So we're now speaking to Craig Bulman. He's 51, based in Newcastle. He's a retired veteran. Craig, you're the reason that I'm doing this story. You just would not leave it alone. I know you messaged me a lot and you just said, this is a story that needs to get out there. People need to know what's going on with the CSA, Child Maintenance Service, and the heartache that's been caused. And you talk a lot about suicide. And I'm thinking, how did people get to that point where they've taken their own lives? You know, there's struggles and there's problems in life. And then there's a moment that people might reach where they think my only option now is to end my life. And your passion and determination to bring some exposure, to raise awareness around this is admirable. But, you know, as I've said, you did the interview with Henry Widdast, who was a reporter from mainstream media, old media, whatever you want to call it, which is on the channel, because I was so incredibly busy at the time. But I felt I really need to speak to you. I need to speak to people who've been impacted by this, so the public are aware. That's all we want to do. So, Craig, thank you very much for talking to me. Just briefly, why are you involved in this campaign?
Well, firstly, they totally destroyed me. They destroyed my career, and then they destroyed my career in the IT industry. And there was absolutely no need for it to be like that. You know, I was paying for my children voluntarily. Didn't need to get involved, but they took it upon themselves to get involved and cause a lot of problems. And
well, your ex-partner or ex-wife, did she get them involved? Who got them involved?
No, they did. We had a private arrangement. It was the very first thing I'd done when we split up, was go to the regiment admin office to get a payment set up for pay for my daughters. And a few months down the line, I was just about to be deployed to Bosnia, and I started getting letters from the CSA saying that an application against me.
This for me is the question I would ask is, who alerted them? If your ex-partner didn't alert them, why did they start contacting you if you had an arrangement?
It's a thing that they were doing at the time. They were just interfering with you know, people in private arrangements. It was
how did they know? How did they even know you were separated?
People on benefits. You know, if the person was on benefits, then they're part of the Department of Work and Pensions, whatever it was at the time. So then they would go and force people into opening a case against them. And my ex-wife, she was actually threatened that if she didn't open a case against me, then she would have her benefit stopped. So she was literally forced into opening a case. And then at the same time, they were sending me correspondence, which was stating that she had opened a case against me. So it was conflicting information. You know,
you've taken a situation that you say it ruined your life, a horrific situation. And what's interesting about you, Craig, is you took your pain and your heartache and in this situation of injustice, and then you started to meet other people who've been through exactly what you have been through, and you started to help them. And you started to do everything you could to get this story out to the media and to raise this issue with politicians. And that's admirable, I have to say. And you were the person I've been told who spends all day, all night helping people. And tell me what your life's been like and what have you been doing? I don't think do you get paid for this? Is it a charity? Is it just a Facebook group, a support group, support network?
It's just something I do. It's voluntary. I joined the Facebook group, back in 2010, 2011, because you had nowhere to turn. There's no MPs or interested in helping. They just turn a blind eye to it. I'm lucky I've got a good MP now who has been very helpful. But previous to that, my MP was Theresa May, and she just was not interested in getting it sorted at all.
Well, Anne Widdecombe did show some support.
She did, yes. We sent her a video of Ian Briggs when Clive and I did a podcast with him, which was very distressing. Actually, it was very hard hitting. And she responded, and she said that people were forced to suicide and have been for years with the CSA, and it's not, and they're forcing people to have mental health issues and stuff like that. It's really not acceptable. The draconian operations, what they do to get money out of people is well. It's just totally unlawful. You know, there's fraud and misconduct going on. The government knows it's happening, they're just not interested.
Who could fail to be moved by what happened to Ian and his son Gavin? And we just heard that. I just want to know why politicians and journalists aren't doing anything.
I don't know.
At least raise it. Let's have a debate about what's actually going on here.
I don't know. I mean, it would seem like there's some sort of media restrictions about reporting stuff like this, because all you see in the media is stories about, you know, single parents getting fleeced, not guys not wanting to pay for their kids. But it's not the case. You know, there's those people there.
Not always the case. Not always the case. This is the thing, and it's not just dads, is it? You're also talking to mums. This is a massive issue. It's a huge subject, and I just feel like I've just touching the surface of this. You know, the number of people who are involved in the situation. So if something happens to you, someone says you're earning this amount of money, you need to give us this amount of money, and you disagree with it, you do have an appeal process. Is that right? What's happened with that appeal process? Because that's what, you know, when we've asked them for a response, they said, well, you do have the ability to do this. You can complain and have it looked at again. What's happened? What's your experience of that appeal process?
My experience is that when you start questioning the arrears, they become more militant. You know, they've got 2 liability was raised against me, which came to around £12,000, and I've been paying for my kids. I was like, how are these arrears here? Where's it come from? And when I started raising that, you know, I said the dates on the liability orders are incorrect and the arrears are incorrect. I don't know how I owe this money. And then they just came down me hard-handed, set up a detachment of earnings order against me, which was at 40% of my salary, and that was it. I just lost the will to live, really.
You're in a situation, this isn't fair, this isn't just. You appeal, then you go to maybe a solicitor, and then you go to the media, and you feel that every time you've tried to go down these different avenues to get justice, not just for yourself but other people, you're not getting anywhere. Yeah.
No, there's no law firms that will actually take us on. You know, they're quite happy to go after police for police misconduct and go after the armed forces wherever, you know, for spurious claims from Iraq and you know, the Northern Ireland veterans scandal, but they will not go after the CMS when there's quite obviously unlawful stuff going on there.
Well, there's definitely a story here, because you have had support, you have had interest from journalists, haven't you? And you have had interest from politicians. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, we did have interest from a journalist. What was it, Caroline Wheeler, and it was about a veteran that was put in prison for 30 days for refusing to pay for a child that wasn't his, and they refused to give him a DNA test. When he was released, his family paid for the DNA test, and then it was confirmed that he was not the father. So basically, that guy had been put in prison 30 days for nothing. And then, so Caroline Wheeler is very interested in that story, but she got all the story together, and then it went to the editor, and it didn't go anywhere. It just stopped. There's nothing happened.
So that story never got out. I should speak to Caroline Wheeler. What publication was that?
She was it was Sunday Express at the time.
Okay, I'll see if I can find out a little bit more about that. Well, you know, I would signpost people to your interview with Henry Widas, which is on the channel. And thank you very much for speaking to me, Craig. I'm going to speak now to Brian and also Daniel, hopefully.
Okay.
Thank you very much indeed. And can you just finally say, if people are finding themselves in this situation, where can they go for more advice?
Come on Facebook, look for the groups. There's a group here, Child Support Agency Rip-Offs, Support for Non-Resident Parents. There's over 5,000 people on there.
Well, I always say, if there's an engaged large Facebook group, then journalists need to listen, and so do politicians. You know, that is something. There's something there that needs to be looked into. So thank you very much for talking to me, Craig.
Before you shoot, Anna, there's a very important thing I'd like to draw your attention to, is the fact that, you know, the CMS are causing mental health problems to our armed forces, and that is actually it's causing operational. It's not it's a matter of national security, because these guys are out on the ground in some very dangerous situations. And like what happened to me in Bosnia, just before Bosnia, I started getting attacked by these people. So your head is not in the right place. So they're causing, problems to our armed forces. And again, I say it's a problem for national security, because it has an impact on the operational effectiveness, and it's putting soldiers' lives at risk, as well as other government departments. It has an impact on them, but also there's the
no one can operate and work well. No, like you said, with what happened to Gavin, if you've got that in the back of your head, you can't function, can you? You can't work.
No, you can't.
So thank you for
that was horrendous. Getting these brown letters through, and your operations in a really dangerous situation, and your head is not where it should be. So you're not only putting your life at risk, but you're putting other people's lives at risk as well.
That makes sense. Well, thank you very much for talking to me, Craig. I'm going to go over now to Brian.
Yeah. Cheers, Anna.
Bye.
Thanks
Bye.
Bye now. Bye.